Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-Minute Histories videos. And today I'm on 33rd Street at the site of the old Memorial Stadium where the Baltimore Colts used to play. Today we're going to talk about football, but we're not going to talk about the Colts. We're going to talk about the cheerleaders. And in fact, we're going to talk about the very first cheerleaders in the NFL, started here in 1954 with the Baltimore Colts. And I am thrilled that I have a number of Baltimore Colts cheerleaders with me today. I'm going to turn it over to them to talk about some of the earlier years in cheerleading. But you know, before I do that, I have to say a word or two about how we got cheerleaders in the NFL to begin with. Now, cheering and sports have gone hand in hand from the very beginning, of course, but the first organized cheering started in the 1870s in college sports in Princeton, where hundreds of football fans would chant or yell the same thing over and over to get their team going. In fact, the very first documented cheer that we know of was from 1877 in Princeton, and it went something like this: hurrah, 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 tiger, sis, boom, ah. And I think Princetonians are still chanting basically that same thing at football games. For 20 years, it was the fans themselves that did the cheering, but in 1897, the coaches at Princeton anointed 3 students to stand up in the stands and lead their fellow students in cheers, and they called these 3 cheerleaders. And that's how we got the term cheerleader out of that. The next year, not at Princeton, but at the University of Minnesota, things went one further when a gentleman named Johnny Campbell decided that he would be a cheerleader, but not from the stands. He jumped over the rails, got to the sidelines, turned around, and led the fans in cheers from the sidelines. And that took off immensely in stadiums across the country. It was an all-male thing up until 1923. And again, University of Minnesota paving the way, allowing women to become cheerleaders down on the sidelines as well. Women really didn't become dominant in cheerleading, though, until the 1940s, when young men were being drafted into World War II. Women stood up and took their place on the sidelines as cheerleaders. The next big step forward was in 1954, when cheerleading went from college sports to professional sports, and here in Baltimore, 1954 Colts specifically. That came at the urging of a woman named Thelma Mack. She was a Colts fan, but when she went to the games, she was disappointed in the fan participation. So she wrote to the head office of the Colts suggesting that she would recruit cheerleaders, train them, and buy their outfits for them if the Colts would say yes. There was really nothing to say no about, and so the Colts did say yes. And so after work, she had recruited about 10 young women. I think most or all from recent graduates from Patterson Park High School, and they trained after work behind the reptile house at the zoo in Druid Hill Park. And in 1954, they hit the field with their pom-poms and their megaphones and their signs. The Baltimore Sun covered it. In the Sun article, it says, "The pretty cheerleaders went through fancy paces, flashing their big blue signs that read, 'Go, go, C-O-L-T-S, Colts.'" And the cheerleading really worked. I mean, it really, really worked here at Memorial Stadium. One sports writer in the 1950s said that Memorial Stadium was, quote, "the world's largest outdoor insane asylum." One future Hall of Famer, Gino Marchetti, said, quote, "the cheerleaders really got the stadium rocking. Other stadiums were morgues compared to ours." And another player, finally, that you may know of from his barbecue restaurant on York Road in Cockeysville, Andy Nelson, said the following: "The cheerleaders were a tactical advantage to us because Memorial Stadium exploded in noise and the other teams could not hear the checkoff counts." Cheerleading, of course, now most NFL teams have cheerleaders, basketball teams have cheerleaders, even cricket teams have cheerleaders on the national stage, and cheerleading has become the team itself. If you haven't been to a high school cheer contest recently, you are missing out on incredible athleticism and coordination. I'm going to wrap up by saying cheerleading is maybe as popular as it ever has been, and it is all due to those young women in 1954 and the early years of cheerleading here in Baltimore. Oh, I have to say, I have been able to borrow this fabulous sparkly shirt. I hope you can see it, commemorating the early years of Baltimore Colts cheerleading. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to a woman named Debbie Swiss, who's maybe going to tell us a little bit about what it was like to be a cheerleader in some of the early years. Debbie, we are all yours.
I'm Debbie Swiss. I'm Debbie Smith Swiss, and I am a cheerleader from 70 to 76. I left at the beginning of 1976 because I was about to have a child. A lot of us left about that time, and I tried out on March the 30th and at Pikesville High School, and they read my number and the rest is history. We would be in the tunnel and the drums would start and the excitement that would just get you very excited. And once you walked out on that field, regardless if it was 10 minutes before a game or anything, you were thinking about the team and how excited you were to be part of this amazing stadium. The thrill that we got every Sunday was just amazing, and it's something that many people won't ever have that because there's just so many of us Baltimore Colt cheerleaders. The Baltimore Colt Alumni Cheerleading Association is very active. We do golf tournaments, and we're a part of the NFL Alumni. Every other year, the NFL has a cheerleader reunion for all the other teams. We are a sisterhood to the end. We are rah-rahs.
Hi, my name's Leslie, and I'm actually the Yankee because I came from Pennsylvania to cheer for the Baltimore Colts. I live just right over the border, and so super close, and it was fun to come down here and cheer. I cheered from 1978 until 1983 when they left and went to Indianapolis. I actually heard about the tryouts from an article that was in our York newspaper, and they were looking for more girls to try out, and I had always told my dad that I was going to be a professional cheerleader. I was a cheerleader in high school and just loved it, did gymnastics and all of that. So I thought, why not give it a try and go for it. So came down, tried out. I was number 400 and I don't know what, but ended up making the team of, there was like 40 to 50 of us, I think, that year. It really got loud when the whole stadium just spelled Colts. When Big Wheel would have the signs and we would have the signs down on the on the field with us and everybody yelling, spelling out Colts, it was just magical. I think we were pretty well respected by, coaches, fans, players. Everyone seemed to, be happy that we were there. So we were happy to be there. In the whole time that I cheered those years, we only had one Monday night football game. It was against the Washington Redskins. So it was a crazy game, crazy fun, and just because there were so many, both Washington fans there and Baltimore fans. So it was jam-packed and a great game. So our chapter nominated Thelma Mack, who first started Baltimore Colts cheer, for the Hall of Fame, and they have picked her to be one of the candidates to be in the NFL Cheerleader Hall of Fame. So we are thrilled that that has happened for her. To this day, I am a cheer coach. I coach in York, Pennsylvania at York Suburban High School, heading into my 25th year of coaching high school cheer. So it's part of my blood, can't get it out. 1, 2, 3. C-O-L-T-S, Colts!